Hey, welcome to Loose Change. As always, please allow faster viewers to play through. I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for joining us. And as always, you'll be glad you did. We have a great guest. I'm really looking forward to talking with him, standing by, and we're going to get right to that. But first, what's been going on? Greg, a guy came up to me recently. He said, hey, you've been doing sports in the area for quite a while. I said, yeah. He goes, what changes have you noticed, especially in high school sports, specifically football, over the years? And my initial thought was, well, the coaching's still really great, as it's always been, for sure. Training's advanced, facilities are better, and many of the kids are a lot more mature now. So much so that there are some schools now in their bleachers, they have a players' wives section. And then 2 sections down, it's the girlfriends. You gotta watch it. Hey, how many of you watched the coronation of King Charles? I didn't either. Did you, Greg? No. You know, one of the kings of rock and roll, I guess, do people say rock and roll, rock music? Aerosmith recently announced their farewell tour. Did you hear that, Greg? Their final tour. Steven Tyler's, 75 now? The other guys are right behind him, so, you know, it's their time. 40 cities, though. It's going to be a grind. And a little extra duties for the performers. I guess before every show, each guy will have to get a mic check as well as a prostate check. You got to deal with that. Did you hear about the Writers Guild strike in Hollywood? Big dispute with the studios, so they're out. No problem for us here on our staff, right, Greg? In fact, our assistant head writer recently had a big celebration. I think we have a shot of that, don't we? It's the notorious Sam Brero. Well, it was a great night. Happy birthday again, Sammy. And, you know, a lot of her jokes are really better than mine, so I better watch it. What else? Recently, of course, we had Earth Day. My family still celebrates Earth Day. We have a big gathering, have great dinner, and then afterwards we go out in the backyard of someone's house, and we plant a tree, and then my great-uncle Seamus comes out and soils his pants. Hey, stay planted where you're at. Coach Al Campman joins us next, right here on Loose Change. Coming right up.
Supercharge your internet. Only Zoom Extreme from Armstrong combines unlimited data with whole home Wi-Fi at the fastest speeds possible. Zoom Extreme from Armstrong.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, and I have the great privilege to be joined by a very familiar guy here. He's the co-host of Bottom Line Sports, you see right here on Armstrong, the Hall of Fame coach, Al Campman. Coach, thanks so much for being here.
Jim, it's so exciting. I watched you growing up and through my later years, and got a chance to talk to you beforehand.
Yeah.
How YSU was close to getting you, along with that's where I ended up. That's pretty
Came
sweet.
up in the discussions.
That's all right. That's right. That's what we do. We discuss sports, and sports has been everything to me. It's got my jobs. It's got my where I ended up located in my life. So this show is about where I was at.
Yeah. For those who don't know about your background, tell us where you're from, where you went to school, and how your career path took shape.
Sure. For your fans who follow sports, I happened to play for the great coach Ed McCluskey at Farrell, Jim, and my basis there was he taught me everything I wanted to know about basketball. At the time, I knew I was going to stay in sports. I didn't know I was going to be a coach, but it carried over. So I went to Farrell. We won the state championship in 1972. Played some great Boardman teams for you Ohio people with Jay Powell.
Remember that team?
Yes. and then I went from Farrell to YSU to play football. And at YSU, I was privileged to play for 3 different coaches.
Yeah.
Dyke Beatty, and Ray Dempsey, and Bill Narduzzi. And I learned a lot from all 3 of them.
I'm sure.
You know, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You pick up stuff as you go along. And at YSU, I still have great friends that were great people there. And it was a wise and great choice for me. When I left YSU, followed my secondary coach, Bob Wolf, who just passed away 2 weeks ago, by the way.
Oh,
I was down at his funeral in Columbus. And he got the head coaching job at Garfield Heights Trinity High School, an all-girls school until the year tier year we went there, and we were there for 3 years. We left an 8-2 team and 21 starters coming back after 3 years in football. At the time, I was a head basketball coach at 25 years old. And I followed him to Warren Harding because I wasn't sure I was going to be a football coach or a basketball coach. How about that? Still wasn't sure at the time.
Yeah.
That Trinity team that we left 8-2 won the state championship the next year with those 21 starters coming back.
You set it up, so.
Yeah, we were part of that, yes.
Yeah.
And I talked to the players about that. They said, it was a great line. They said, we couldn't have won with you, but we definitely could not have won without you.
Yeah.
So those little changes both ways. And carried over to Harding for a year, lost my teaching job, so I was all out with a little baby daughter. So I applied everywhere in the state of Ohio and every state of Pennsylvania. Took a head football job for a week at Hickory High School. How about that? And then decided
Not the right thing.
not the right thing for me. I'm gonna stay in basketball, and I got the Albert City job and stayed there my whole life. So
Well, it was meant to be.
yeah, God had a plan for me, no question
Absolutely.
about it. And the plan was to be in Albert City, where I made great friends, had a great life. My wife and I both were teachers, and in the coaching career, we had some great teams, some mediocre teams, some good teams, some poor teams, some pathetic teams. I've coached all 5 of them. But what you do as a coach,
You learn from each.
you learn from each one of them.
Yeah.
That's right. Right, and I retired from basketball, but continued to coach track and tennis because I wanted to stay close to the kids. So today I still coach tennis, going on 45, 46 years of coaching. It's in my blood, but it's also in my blood to help kids out.
Yep.
And that's why we get into coaching in the first place. And I stuck with that. I said, I was a cutthroat when I was young. I don't cutthroat as much anymore. I found out there's a better way to do it. But grown throughout with everybody being part of this. Now I spend all my time with my grandkids.
Great.
We're playing sports.
Great.
That's where I'm at.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Your teaching degree, you had a teaching degree in what field?
When I got my first, it was elementary.
Okay.
Because that's the interesting story, Jim, for this one. You'll love this. When I had that job at Hickory for a week, I had a health phys ed job. That's why you know I have the greatest wife in the world. I said, babe, I decided I'm not going to do football. And she said, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to do basketball. So when I got that basketball job at Elwood City, no teaching job. They told me, if you win, we'll get you a teacher. So they put me in a job in a mill for a half year. And for a half year, they laid me off. But here I am with a little baby girl, and that crazy about doing things. And my wife said, I'll go with what you want to do. And sure enough, we won 14 games the first year, and they had won 2 in the last 4 years. And they got me a teacher job, elementary.
Okay.
And I had to go back to school. I went to school at Youngstown State and Pitt at the same time, because I graduated YSU with a health and phys ed degree.
Okay. But you had to get the
I had to hit the element to get the job. I got it, did that 2 years. They moved me up into high school, and from that point on, I was a phys ed teacher, and then I went to health full time. But really enjoyed the kids. There's nothing better than making a difference.
Yep. I saw, did you teach a self-esteem course?
Yeah, that was it. It was the greatest.
Yeah,
and
what's that about?
that class, Jim, that needs to be put on the air. After my elementary and my work in health and phys ed, a class opened up that would teach the kids how to grow up, what to do with your life. And I went to Cincinnati, took the 3-day course in that, got a chance to teach that for close to 16, 17 years.
Oh, that'd be great.
The greatest line in that class, the people still in the streets who are now 50, 40 years old come and say to me, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. It was for you, it was for me. There are great parents that do the greatest job in the world, and if the kid happens to choose
Yeah.
a friend that does not care about school, does not care about, I feel bad.
You're not
So I get a chance to make a difference in kids' lives. That's really, and that was why it was such a great class.
That when I saw that in your bio, that jumped out at me. It's like, wow, that had to be
It was special.
great
I always
class.
tell people, I wasn't the best teacher, but I got an opportunity to teach the best class. Every kid I went through there learned what goals were about, learned what not to do, making decisions, learned the truth of life. Learned, they left there knowing what it was going to be like the next 30 years of their life, and nothing better for that.
And as you mentioned, it's every coach we have, and they all echo the same thing, that coaching is about certainly competition and learning to compete and play to win, but it's life lessons that they take from playing sports.
You know what's interesting about that, Jim, and players who played for me come back and tell me it's the greatest thrill I have when they tell me you talk the talk, but you walk the walk.
Yeah.
See, I call them phonies. They'll do anything to win. And what are you teaching the kids when you'll do anything to win? And it's rampant right now with the portal, with the money being given out. And it was under the table before. It's out there now. But they will shake hands on the line with good job. And as they're telling them nice job, they're saying, hey, I need a point guard next year.
Right.
So no, so it's you need to walk the walk if you're going to do that. I've taught my grandkids. I have 6 grandkids, and they come in here. If I'd say, give me the list. What's Papa's list? They'll tell you: God, family, school, sports, fun. Notice 4 was sports.
Right.
When I was growing up, it was sports number 1, and I had to learn.
You're a kid, yeah.
Yes, I didn't. But when I got into coaching, that's what it was going to be, and the kids knew that I was going to coach them hard. They were going to play hard. They were going to do everything the right way, but we were going to do it the right way, and there was going to be no shortcuts. Many of the good kids sat out because they didn't get the school part right, and they sit out. But they learned a lesson that he means it. They're not going to play if they don't get that, because that sports is behind school. So school is why we teach. Yeah. That's why we coach, Jim. Right. That's everything. Yes.
You mentioned, of course, Coach McCluskey, and then Coach Beatty and Dempsey and Narduzzi.
Yes.
What are the things that maybe you grabbed from them and implemented in your coaching?
I grab some of everybody. It's easy too. Coach McCluskey was ahead of his time with regard to fundamentals in the off season. Okay. His skill work was today's skill work's a big part of everything.
Yeah.
We were the only school doing skill work in the summer. Everybody else was just on the playground or just playing games. He knew that if you were going to be a good offensive player in basketball, that footwork, that being able to use both hands, to be able to play the right way with your teammates. We always played 3-on-3 in the summer, because if you played 5-on-5, the 2 kids who weren't very good, they never get the ball. So when we played 3-on-3, there was no hiding. So the best player had the ball, but so did the second kid. Yeah. He was way ahead in those thoughts. When I went to Coach Beatty, I learned the value of faith. I learned, when I got my full scholarship there, I walked into his office and he said, well, he talked to that voice, well, Albert, all you have to do is bring a tie for church. Telling me that I have to pay for education, which was just amazing. Yeah. When I tell my daughters, and no, I didn't have to pay anything. There was no loans when I came out. Right. So it was a faith thing with him. Coach Dempsey was competitive. When he came in, it changed immensely, that we would do everything in the offseason with competitive. Anything we did, fighting over a rope, tug of war, wrestling, compete, the value of toughness and competing. And Coach Narduzzi, I learned the value of adapting to change. Okay. He said, listen, you can't stay status quo. If you stay status quo, you're not getting better. He was not afraid to go in and make changes. His changing did not affect me negatively, but I learned. Remember, you asked what I learned, because Clip Stout was our quarterback, and he was a pro-style quarterback. Yep. Coach Narduzzi went in and put the veer in, because he said, I wasn't building for this year. That, yeah. I'm not building for this year. I'm building for championships down the road. So I knew the value of okay, don't be afraid of what the public thinks. Don't be afraid of what anybody else thinks. Whatever you think change is needed. So all of them had a value in my life.
You were the YSU's interception leader when you graduated, huh?
How about that, Jim? Yeah, at that time,
that's cool.
The ball was not thrown around like it is now.
Right.
And so me leading the YSU in interceptions was of great value to me, because that means I studied the game. If you have 15 throws a game and you lead it, that means you're going to have to get one somewhere. By reading the defense, reading the offense, reading what's going on. Led to my coaching, by the way.
Preparation.
The preparations, yes, that's the word. Yep. Preparing, and I took chances. My dad taught me when I was little, don't play safety ante. That was his line. He said, anybody can play safe and not get anything done. Okay. Coach Wolf, when I saw him before he died, he told me a story that Jim Vicarelli, who ended up being a defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, came to him, and Coach Wolf said, "I think we got to change him. He's jumping routes too much." Coach Riley said, "Leave him alone. He knows what he's saying," and that came from preparation.
Yes.
So leading the interception at the time was quite an honor. My dad really loved that. He would tell people that. I never said anything. I had to put in my bio because you wanted my bio, but I don't tell anybody that because I knew it was going to be broken when we were throwing 15 passes in a game, and today they throw 60 passes.
Yeah, at least, for sure.
Yes.
Just the law of averages. So, hey, we're going to take a break and come back. You have more time, right, for us?
I'm ready, buddy.
All right. Al Campman, we'll be right back after this here on Lucia Day.
Armstrong has been a part of the Mahoning Valley since 1974. We helped you get online with Zoom Internet. Zoom Share made wireless internet a reality. Enhanced Wi-Fi delivered coverage, security, and control of your network. Zoom Extreme brought internet speeds up to 1 gig to the community. And in 2022, Armstrong was named CableFact's Independent Operator of the Year for the second time. When you support Armstrong, you're supporting your local community.
Welcome back. Steve Evans, joined by Coach Al Campman, Hall of Fame coach. You were inducted in the Mercer County Hall of Fame in 2004, is that correct?
Yes, I was. And,
Talk about what that means to you.
the honor goes completely to my dad. He brought me up in sports completely. I'm talking about what you would call him overboard. And but what he did was it taught me everything about doing it right. And that honor, when I had that honor given to me, that was my first thought. My wife knew immediately that my dad, he had passed away. He'd be so proud that a little guy from Wheeling, Pennsylvania, being in the Hall of Fame for playing and coaching.
Yeah.
It was a dual award.
Great.
And so my pride goes to him. And then and the second part is that it always happens. My mom did all the work behind the scenes. That's the way that works, Jim. You know that.
Yep.
That when I needed a ride, she'd be the one picking me up in -1 degree weather. I can still see her doing it. And then finally, my wife it just goes that way. And if somebody's in the Hall of Fame doesn't say that, then they're fooling themselves.
Correct.
That you cannot make anything. You cannot be a Hall of Famer in any sports broadcast. I don't care where you're at, because there's a lot of time put into making it work.
It starts at home.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And so when I say this clearly, that those three, and my wife put up with many a days that watching my two daughters, who were tremendous, by herself, coming, I'm scouting, or I'm at a camp, or whatever, and praise the Lord that I had the opportunity to have a family like that.
Yes.
But it was a great honor in that usually people go in just for one or the other, coaching or playing. I went in as both, and that's why that was so special.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Absolutely. What you kind of touched on it a little bit in the first segment, but what was it about basketball that pulled at you more than football in terms of coaching?
Best question you asked, Jim.
Once in a while I get it.
It was your best one because it's a really outstanding question because remember I played football in college.
Right, that's what I mean.
Okay,
You're standout football.
And by the way, my best sport was baseball. So I became a head basketball coach at a really young age. I said,
Yes.
24, 25, whatever it was, and I was offensive coordinator in football. Well, I have a weakness and a strength that battle each other every day, and that is control. I have to have control.
Yeah.
And in football, my mind worked that I have more genius in football than I do basketball, way more genius. I think out of the box, but I did not know one play part of football. It was offensive line play. Mm-hmm. Now today, I get goosebumps as I'm talking. You can see them. I just hired a good offensive line coach. But at the time, my mind said, you have to know it all.
Right.
Well, basketball, I knew it all. And so I said, that's why I decided to go out of football and go into basketball. Turned out to be a tremendous decision because we've done great things and at a school that didn't do great things. And more importantly, it allowed me to stay put in one place. Because when I first got into coaching, I thought I was going to be a football coach in college. And then once I got into the teaching scene and the high school scene, it worked out good.
Yeah.
But that's the reason I ended up going basketball, because it was a control thing that I could control every aspect of the game.
Most wins in school history for
Yes.
basketball, and you had that one season where you had, was it 85 or 86? You had the most wins ever?
Yes, and
Talk about that.
yeah, during that mid-'80 run, I had a great player named Dan Roy that went to St. Bonaventure. He's the only Division I coach. Well, I had one other kid who went for a semester. Only Division kid I've ever coached, and he led us in that. But I had other good players at that time. In Ohio, and I loved Ohio more than Pennsylvania because of this. They make it more of an adventure down at the state basketball championships.
Yeah.
They bring 4 in.
Yeah.
They bring them all in.
Right.
Well, I would have been there. I would have been there twice because we lost in the semifinals.
Okay.
Twice, which is both times in overtime, by the way, to go to play for the state championship.
Yeah.
So I had some tough losses. I've always said, Jim, that you're looking at a guy. Blessed talking to you today. Our producer Greg, and they have a great friend like him. But basketball, I was not. There were things that would happen in basketball. Now, wait a minute, did that just happen? And there was games like that happened like that in big games where we missed 2 free throws. The kid was shooting 85%. I sit there, missed. You have no control of free throws. You know that.
Right.
So we had great teams in the 80s, very good teams in the 90s. But as I said, my legacy, and I tell people, what's your legacy, Campman? I coached great, good, mediocre, poor, and pathetic. See, most people, Jim, and you know this, when they get to after mediocre, they hightail it.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the other two. I felt those kids worked just as hard, maybe even harder. And I coached the same way. It's a talent-driven sport. And when I had great players, I won a lot of games.
Well, yeah. No,
That's the way that works, you know.
Yes, for sure.
It's a talent-driven
You gotta
sport.
have that,
Yeah, it's just the way it is. But the time spent there, and those teams were really great. Tell you a story behind that. I'd have 2 or 3 state champs for sure, up till 9th grade. I coached Sean. Sean Miller played with me on that same team.
Oh, really?
On those same teams, up to 9th grade, and they had never lost a game. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Nobody, 8th, not even close. Every game by 40. He plays a 9th grader, then he went play for his dad.
Okay.
10, 11. If he stays, it's a runaway freight train. We win the state championship easily, but in 2 years, because he was the best. He was the all-time Big East assistant guy in history of the Big East. So he wasn't like playing at Julietta. He wasn't playing at Oberlin.
Right.
So that's the kind of player he would have had on that same team.
What were the biggest challenges that you faced at that time, right in the heart of what you were
Well, number one was, and it's been like this. In the old times, it was called Section 3.
Okay.
Section 3 was the greatest section in the state of Pennsylvania, with Farrell and Sharon and Aliquippa and the likes, Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I took the Ellis City job, they were in a conference with much smaller competition. And I told my wife, I'm going to win 500 games here easily. Because I remember leaving Elwood when they were in that league. But in year 3, they put me back in that league. So just getting into the playoffs. Like Ohio has an open playoff. So you get your team the best it can be.
Yes, right.
In PA, it was you're top 2 or top 3, or you don't. We'd have 4 great teams every year. And for us we'd have to somehow claw.
Yeah.
To get in that, and once we got in, we did well in the playoffs. We did great, but that was the big thing, trying to handle the competition. A lot like Poland against Akron St. V.
Yes.
Poland has so many good teams.
Gosh, I covered them a lot.
Yeah, but then they play Akron St. V.
Right.
Well, it was a lot like that. You could take your team only so far because you run into somebody that was really great.
He got them down there.
Yeah, the best you could do.
Yeah.
You handle the best you can.
He got to Columbus.
Yes, he did.
Ken Grisdale, of course.
Yeah, Kenny was a great coach.
Great coach for sure.
One of my plays was called Poland. We played him 1 year. We beat him. We played him 1 year. But I like what he put in. So kids said, "What are you calling this Poland for?" I said, "Because the coach just put that in. I took it from him."
Is the game? Kids, the athletes evolve. But has the game changed a whole lot in your eyes from when you coached at the high school level, or is it pretty much basic things or remain the same?
There would be no one coaching when I coached recognize the game today.
Okay.
Pattern plays out. Holding the balls out.
Yeah.
Coaching plan A and B's out. Everybody, and I mean everybody, if you're a good team or a bad team, has copied from the college down to junior high called dribble drive. And everybody
Right.
has went to, so the game has immensely changed because that dribble drive is not to get a good shot, it's to get a good three-point shot. The game is there's no two-point game taught in the game at all. Post plays out, unless you have to have a 7-footer.
Yeah, you got to have the right person.
You have a 7-footer.
Right.
But it's completely out now. You don't have to coach post defense because nobody does it. It's a three-point bonanza. I have grandkids. The first thing they do is step on the floor. I say, whoa, not while Papa's here. Not while Papa's here. Get warm up close. They want to shoot the three. Shooting the three has made the line. That line has changed the game completely.
Yes, it has.
Therefore, defensively, which I laid my hat down on, and from Coach McCloskey, you teach man, but you have a plan B to win with zone or win with. It's out. Everybody has to play man because the three-point line demands that you play that way. Yeah. So now coaching defensively has definitely ruled out any. We can beat them with a triangle too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely changed.
We could go on and on about this. We're running short on time, but I want you to just talk briefly, if you would, before we close out, about your show with Coach Abraham.
Yes.
Bottom Line Sports. You've had a lot of fun
Well,
with
it's the best. And we started over in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We're still going there. We have three-man crew over there. Greg, who's our producer right here, I'm looking right at him, he's the greatest there is. Yes. And I mean that sincerely.
Yes.
He's a true friend. We're not here talking about analytics.
Right.
We're not here to talk about what you did.
No screaming and yelling.
No. It's just out and out.
Intelligent discussion.
We were talking in the cafeteria about sports and trying to relate to the fan who's watching us, that they can learn from two coaching aspects, but also two sports fans' outlooks.
Yeah.
Two of those. And it was very successful. Greg, Jim, George and I have been together since 1985. And usually when you're a business partner, we've done everything in business together, by the way.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yes, everything.
Previous show.
Not one fight in all that time.
And unfortunately, again, we don't have any more time. Greg, we get the cue there.
I got it.
The time cue's up.
I see that zero. I know what it means.
But thank you so much for being here and sharing your time and thoughts. And best of luck on the show and your other coaching endeavors. Really
Thanks, brother. You're so awesome. Thank you very much.
Al Campman. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this.
Supercharge your internet. Only Zoom Extreme from Armstrong combines unlimited data with whole home Wi-Fi at the fastest speeds possible. Zoom Extreme from Armstrong.
Well, that's going to do it for our show. Thanks again so much to Coach Al Campman, Hall of Famer, along with Hall of Fame Coach George Abraham. You can catch him on Bottom Line Sports right here on Armstrong. Probably already knew that. Before we leave, another important message to pass along. It is in memory of our great friend, our dear friend, the late, great Coach Phil Annarella. And it's the Game Changers 2022-23 Phil Annarella Legacy Scholarship Golf Outing at Pine Lake, Saturday, July 1st. You can find out more about whether you can get in or get involved in a sponsorship or make a donation to this great cause. And you can contact them at wearegc.org. Again, the Phil Annarella Legacy Scholarship Golf Outing. Thanks to Tim Kemp for bringing us that information. Thanks, as always, to Greg Rote and all of you. I'm Jim Evans. We'll catch you next time right here on Loose Change. We will.